I'm back. What's up, degenerates? It's halftime of TNF. Thank goodness that game's halfway over. And you know what that means? This is Over Underdogs, the show where we pick player props on Underdog Fantasies PickEm. If you want to play along with us, definitely do that. Go onto the website, use promo code NONSENSE for a nice little bonus. As per usual, I'm your host, Mason Cameron. You know where to find me on Twitter at PFF_Mace. And with me, as always, my man was holding down the fort last week. I know you guys all came by to check it out. My partner in crime, Vishaal Gupta, Vishaal_Gupta95 on Twitter. It was beautiful. I was out of town last week, but I got to watch the shows. V, you held it down beautifully for both of us. How was it? How did you do? Are you ready to do it again? Another week, another dollar? Are you ready?
Yeah, it was great. I had a great time. Jason and Chris came on the show. They killed it as always. Great time. So yeah, whenever you need me, let me know.
Oh, we're definitely going to get V his own shows all the time. We got to spread the talent because V is actually the talent of this show. But if he can do the double duty, you know what? Maybe we should talk about this later because I don't want Neil to try to find a new host on me. He's going to, give V my job here. But anyway, so in joining us tonight is definitely a man from my own heart. No, this is not my cousin. It's the IN head dog, Neil Smith, at @nonsense_Neil on Twitter. Now, Neil, I'm not sure if you're fully aware.
Dog. Steve and I share that title.
Yes, that's true. Co-head dog with our guy, Steve Bonham. But I shout Steve out all the time. It's your turn to shine here tonight. But now, Neil, I'm not sure if you are aware, but I'm perfectly comfortable threatening people on this show. And you don't live far from where I sit right now. Mm-hmm. So it's best to stay on your best behavior and stay on my good side. So just so you're aware, I wanted to get the warnings out of the way right off the rip so you're not acting up.
All right. You think it's wise to threaten your boss on a live broadcast. Okay. All right. This will all just file that away for the performance review at the end of the year, man. We good?
You love it. You live for it.
Especially I'm a lifelong Bears fan, so I do live for abuse. Yes, that is a factual statement. Yes.
And after this horrible half of football, which I went to the TNF game last week, and I thought that was about as bad as it could get. And then the Bears and Kami said, "Hold my beer."
That was worse. At least we don't have Nathaniel Hackett on either sideline tonight.
That's true.
That's true.
I will say I was watching that game after we wrapped up Roster the People, which is also on Thursday night. And this is for those of you who are maybe carrying over from the Thursday night show that we just did, Roster the People. Smash the Under was the theme of that show.
Under.
And I will say, after we wrapped Roster the People last week, I was watching the second half of that game. And when the fans were headed for the exits before overtime even started, and what was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in a professional sporting event in my entire life, I was looking for you specifically, as I was like, where's Mason? Is Mason leaving? Is he just so fed up? Because I know how upset you are about this in the background, like real talk. I know how mad you are.
I got this close, but I can tell you that those damn tickets are so expensive that there's no way in hell I was leaving. I got all my money's worth. But, anyway, it's a good time to have a couple of tall boys. The weather wasn't too bad, but I have said this. I saw Mahomes' first ever start in like week 15, 16 number of years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was sub-zero, wind, 0 degrees, coldest I think I've ever been in my life. And I would go and see that game again in a heartbeat before I ever go and watch whatever I went through on Thursday night. So, but with that being said, we move on to the main event of the night here. So we're doing our pick'ems on Underdog. Like I said, go check it out if you guys want to join us. Promo code NONSENSE. We have a little housekeeping to get out of the way, a little bit of the records. And our guy V is absolutely destroying it out here. 73%. Only 4 misses all year. I mean, I'd be close there, but I have 3 bad beats on the air. I'm sitting about 50. The rest of the team, we're kind of pulling it in the back. We're hopefully going to get some locks in here. But V, actually, I want to highlight here, is 5-0 with PickEm Insurance. And for anybody that doesn't know, we play PickEm Insurance on all of our cards. It's a new feature that Underdog does. It's a great way to hedge your entry. When you turn it on, your PickEm entry gets a little bit of a reduced payout, but if you can miss some picks and still win money, and we're still winning money because of that. So you love to see it. We love taking home cash. We want you guys to win some cash. So we're bringing you the picks again tonight. And V, why don't you start us off again and just get us going? We have a lot of great picks here. I always love V's picks. So what do you have on the slate this week?
First up, I have Breece Hall higher than 59.5 rushing yards. Breece Hall has kind of taken over the backfield there in New York. He's gone over this number in his last 2 games, and he has 35 carries in those last 2 games. He's clearly the lead back right there over Michael Carter. So he's getting all the touches. So he should have plenty of opportunities to go above this number pretty easily. And he's going up against the Packers defense that's been, below average against the rush throughout the year. We saw Saquon had a pretty solid game against them in London last week. So I think this is a pretty easy higher than 59.5 rushing yards for Breece Hall. Next up, I have Jeff Wilson Jr. higher than 65.5 rushing yards. He's just been a beast since Elijah Mitchell went down in week 1. In the 4 games that he started since week 1, he's gone over this number. He's averaging more than 16 carries a game. So he just needs to get, 4 yards a carry, and he's going to go higher than this number pretty easily. Going up against Atlanta, this is expected to be somewhat of a blowout, so there could be more opportunities for carries later in this game as they're running at the clock. I think these are pretty easy, higher than 65.5 rushing yards for Jeff Wilson. And finally, David Njoku, higher than 45.5 receiving yards. I had him last week on the higher than fantasy points, and that one hit pretty easily. I'm not sure why he keeps being so underrated. He's just kind of dominating right now as a secondary pass catcher behind Amari Cooper in that Cleveland offense. He's gone higher than this number in 3 straight games. He's averaging 8 targets over his last 3 games. That's just too many opportunities for somebody to go lower than this number. It's only 45.5. You can get that very easily. You can probably even get a touchdown in this game. So I definitely like higher than 45.5 receiving yards for the second leading man on that passing game.
And I like that you say that, V, because I'm hoping for a big David Njoku game for our NFL Versus this week, which if anybody doesn't know, go check that out. You can check it out on importantnonsense.com. V and I go head-to-head every single week. I'm proud to report I had a good week last week. And I'm
just to get back to 500. That's all. That's what you do.
Oh,
whoa. All right. Let's relax. So on to the next one. Let's just ignore that. Neil, why don't you run us through your card here? You had a bunch of good picks too, and actually you have a little Breece Hall on your card too. So run us through what you have here.
It's funny that you bring up Breece Hall, Vishaal, because I'm similarly minded, it would appear, because I have Breece Hall higher than 83.5 rushing plus receiving yards. He has, in fact, supplanted Michael Carter. Michael Carter is now effectively a glorified 1-yard line bunny touchdown red zone back at this point. And if you go through the last couple game logs for Breece Hall, he has passed that number comfortably in 2 out of 3 weeks. And in that 3rd week, he missed it by about 2 yards. So I feel really good about this line right now. I think that's about right. Now, I wish I could guarantee that he's going to catch a 79-yard touch or pass again. That would be great if I could guarantee that. But even taking that out, I believe Breece Hall to be the one jet that is capable of surviving Zach Wilson cratering everything around him. I think Breece Hall is the one thing that can survive. They seem to be making it a point to get him involved early and often and consistently. I think they know what they have. I think they know that he's their future. And I think they know that if they're going to win games, it is not going to be because Zach Wilson's throwing the ball. It's going to be because they're going to try and get Breece Hall running downfield and then getting him, to the extent that they have a passing game, getting him involved there. So I am very confident in the Breece Hall higher than 83.5. It's similarly minded. The other one that I'm higher on, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's an interesting one because if you follow pure fantasy football and less so much on the props, he's vexing a lot of people. A lot of frustrated Joe Mixon managers out there right now, very upset. They'll tell you about it. Just ask them. They'll be happy to take you through the whole mindset. And what we've been preaching is patience, because running back as a position for the, not even fantasy, just for the NFL, has just hit the skids coming into this year. It has not been good. A lot of the big name running backs have been very poor. However, over the last 2 weeks, they've been making it a point to try and establish the run in Cincinnati. I think they're realizing that as much as we love to drop back and pass to our excellent wide receivers, if we can't establish the run, we're not going to win too many games. So last week especially, they were making it a point to force feed Joe Mixon. And I think that continues here because look at this Saints game. We talked about this actually a little bit ago on Roster the People. The Saints are 2-3, and when you actually go back and watch their tape, they look like a middling football team where they're struggling against anybody that's a quality opponent. Whereas the Bengals, while they're not getting the results that they would want, they are competitive in these games, and they've had some bad luck and a couple of bad decisions. But they seem to be slowly figuring this out, and I think they're realizing that a big part of figuring this out is we have to be able to get Joe Mixon the ball. We have to be able to establish the run. And the Saints, while it looks intimidating on paper, their rush defense, it's not nearly as good as it would seem. A lot of that is propped up by their opponents. And so I actually think Joe Mixon has a very nice day, and we can kind of quiet some of the doubters in the background here. And my final pick is the one that I think would be considered most controversial, especially given the actual game itself. And I've got Patrick Mahomes lower than 302 passing yards. And I think people might look at that and be like, what's in the water in Denver? And it's like, yeah, you can call me a hater if you want, but I'm
It's
actually
not the water, Neil.
we know. But the Mahomes thing is an interesting one because on paper you would think, okay, that game might devolve into a shootout. There's going to be a lot of points scored on both sides. Well, Mahomes has failed to eclipse the 300-yard mark in his last 3 straight games, and that is against nowhere near the quality of defense that Buffalo is. Very quietly, last week notwithstanding, Kansas City is actually running the ball significantly more than you would think. And I think they're going to attempt to do that again here. So I don't know if this will wind up being a lock per se, but given the recent track record that Mahomes has put together, I am not expecting him to be able to throw for 300 yards or greater than against a very quality Bills defense.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. It's definitely not the water. It's definitely not the water, Neil. And I can't even believe this. I get it from all sides. Now Steve's over here giving the tag team to V.
Coming up top rope.
Where are my fans at? Come on, guys. Where are my fans? So I'll close this out here, though. There was a lot of value on the board. I loved a lot of these projections here for these. I'm going to start us off with a little bit of Darius Slayton. So I love to sprinkle in a little bit of what me and V do throughout the week into everything we pick. It just shows that an evaluation for a single game can warrant so much value if you continue to peel back the layers. So V and I actually highlight this Giants Baltimore game in our versus piece. And I like this one right here too with Darius Slayton at higher than 35.5 receiving yards. So I get that the Giants have actually been kind of like a Cinderella team. They've actually played well, but I think that's kind of going to stop right here. It's going to hit the skids. They have little to nothing at wide receiver. Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, they're all hurt. Slayton's going to get a lot of work like he did last week. He had 6 for 79 in the Green Bay game. And Baltimore has a very generous secondary. Now, I'm taking Baltimore in our versus piece because I think they're just too strong offensively that the Giants aren't going to have enough to keep up. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that they can push the ball a little bit, and they're going to need to if they're going to try to keep pace with this really high-powered Ravens offense. And the Baltimore defense is actually very generous, especially their secondary. They allow the most passing yards, second most yards to wide receivers. And as V highlighted in our piece, they just lost safety Marcus Williams, who is an all-pro. I mean, he's an amazing player. He's a playmaker, and he's a leader in the back end of that defense. That's going to hurt them. I foresee Darius Slayton at least getting a number of catches. I think he's going to go way above this line, but at 35.5, it's way too easy to get this projection. This is going to go higher. super easy. The next one I have was actually in a similar vein as Neil. I actually had to double check and realize that he took the under or the lower for Mahomes. But then when I think about it, that does make a lot of sense with what they're going to try to do. On the other hand, I think that Josh Allen is going to have to push the ball. I think that we're looking for a bit of a shootout towards the end, and the Bills defense is limping into this one. They've lost a number of playmakers, a couple of stud safeties. The KC defense isn't much better. They're allowing over 277 pass yards per game to quarterbacks. Allen will have to carry the load. He's perfectly capable of getting over this projection at 295 and a half. In their last two matchups in 2021, including the playoff game, Allen went way over this line. He absolutely takes it personally every time he plays the Chiefs, and I definitely foresee them doing the same thing this week, and they're probably going to need to. It's definitely going to be the game of the week. I don't understand why we have to watch some of the things we watch in primetime on Thursday night, like right now, when this game is going to be in the afternoon window of Sunday.
Because money. Do you not get how money works?
You're telling me that this Bills KC game is not going to make more money on a Thursday window than, well, I guess whatever.
Maybe, but they know what they do. They know that the product gets diluted. They know this. So why would you waste one of your ace games on Thursday? Why do you think that they put the joke games on Thursday night, Mason?
I guess the joke's on us, or maybe the joke's on Amazon.
It is the joke's on us because they know that if they can take a bad game on Thursday and put it on Thursday that no one would have watched on Sunday at all. Bears, Commanders happening right now. No one outside of those two markets would be, even people in those two markets wouldn't be watching that game on Sunday if you put it up against other games. So you take that out, you put it on Thursday. I could put Bills Chiefs on any day I want, and people will tune into it, and it'll do a massive number. So why would I waste my time taking a quality product that people will watch anyway and putting it on Thursday? It's all down to money, and they know their product so well that it infuriates me. But that's the reason why you get.
I didn't think about it like that, but that's
the reason why you get the garbage games on Thursday night. You want to know what would be? You want to know what's worse than watching Bears Commanders? Paying $86.5 billion for the right
to broadcast.
That's what's worse. That's what's worse. Imagine how many trips to the moon you could take in your rocket.
Money well spent, Jeff. Yeah. Money well spent. On for our last pick here, I have Tyler Algier lower than 46.5 rushing yards. And I know I'm fading everybody's favorite sleeper running back, and I'll do it again. Even at this low number, it's still way too high for a back that has under 40 career carries in just one outing surpassing this projection. The Niners have been tremendous on defense. They allow 3 yards per carry. That's it. It's the fewest in the NFL. They haven't allowed any backs to go over 60 yards this season. Backs like Javonte Williams, Khalil Herbert, Rashad Penny, Christian McCaffrey were all limited to about 55 or less. So better backs have tried than Tyler Algier and failed. I don't see where this is going to happen, even at 46.5. And as I think V put it earlier, this game is going to be a blowout. They're not going to have a lot of opportunities to run the ball. So I'm not sure where this yardage is going to come from. I think he's probably sitting at about 25, 26 yards. And you're going to clear this one by a good 20. So that's going to be a nice little one. And now we're on to the last part of the night. We've run a little bit long here, so we'll try to do our locks quickly. We'll go around the horn. We'll get everybody's lock for the night, and then we'll sign off here. Neil, our man of the hour, why don't you go ahead and give us your lock for the night?
Oh, my lock is going to be I'm going to defer to V. I think real quick as a sidebar. One of these has got to be the Breece Hall one, right?
Yeah, you can go for it. If you want Breece Hall, you can take it.
No. I'm saying, but which would you prefer? Do you want to do just rushing, or do you want to do the whole kitchen sink like I was?
Let's do the whole enchilada.
We'll do the whole enchilada then. Breece Hall will be my lock. We had 75% consensus on that Breece Hall was going to be a dominant factor. I see no reason to steer off that course. That's what it is. And frankly, as just an aside, if you can still get discounted shares in your fantasy league of Breece Hall, which you might still be able to do, this is probably your last opportunity. I would advise you to do so.
I don't know how anybody touches those Jets players. Jets players are cursed to me. They
With
have
gloves. You put gloves on and you hold your nose, but then you don't. And uncritically, you don't watch the game. You just enjoy the nice number in your box score at the end. That's how.
There you go.
That's
There
how
you go. V.
Spoken as a lifelong Bears fan. By the way,
V.
Don't
Give
watch
us
the
your
game.
luck.
Let's go ahead and lock up Jeff Wilson higher than 65.5 rushing yards. Again, he's averaging more than 16 carries a game. Should be pretty simple to go higher against a below average Atlanta defense.
I think that makes a lot of sense too. And I'm actually going to come right there into the same game. And I am taking Tyler Algier lower than 46.5 rushing yards. It just doesn't make sense, frankly. I think it's just a projection that is just out of this world for him. This game is going to be way out of hand. They're going to have no shot at it. Well, that about does it. It's another week of picks. If anybody missed anything, you can definitely check us out on YouTube. Check us out on our Twitch page, on our Facebook, all that good stuff. Definitely on Twitter too.
Patreon.com/important nonsense for $1.
You
for
get
minimum.
into our Discord.
There
You
you
get all
go.
these picks. You get to talk to all the cool guys. They'll set you up with all the great advice. Neil gives all the fantasy advice. Just him, only him.
No, that is not correct.
No, I'm just kidding.
Not correct at all. But I will say, you can also, in addition to the fantasy football advice, you can also get the sports betting advice from these two jokers at any time you want it. And if you got questions for them, they'll answer them for you. That way you don't have to wait around till Thursday night to get your advice. You can get direct questions you have answered in real time for as little as $1 per month. Help us keep the lights on, folks. We love providing this content. Unfortunately, internet space isn't free anymore. It's not the 90s. I have to pay for all of this. Take it up with your local congressman.
and you can tell because Neil has the same hat on half the time, so you know that he's strapped.
I am. This is my lucky Cubs hat. You don't have a lucky
like
hat?
It.
You don't have a lucky hat? Oh,
no.
Man.
I was more referring to your signature beanie.
That too.
Has become
That
your
too.
brand,
I stopped wearing the orange. I stopped wearing the orange in protest of how the Broncos are playing right now. So can't wear any orange right now. All that's off to one side. I had an orange shirt on today during work. I had to take it off and change. I'm like, no.
Can't have people associating you with that.
No, can't allow people to think that we're supporting Nathaniel Hackett. And you missed it, Mason, on the last show where I was telling people, I was like, we were joking. We got to the Broncos roundup, and I'm like, soon to be fired head coach Nathaniel Hackett says Russell Wilson is fine, and that's how I just deliver the updates now. That's how we're doing it. I give this about 6 more weeks, and then.
If I'm honest, I definitely lost some shares.
We're going like 2 weeks. Let's be real here.
2 weeks, okay.
I lost some futures for first coach fired because in my heart of hearts, I had Cliff Kingsbury and I had Nathaniel Hackett shares. So
they love Cliff Kingsbury. They won't fire him, even though I think he's questionable.
He's not questionable. He's a grifter. But anyway, we've gone long enough. That does it for us. Everybody, until next, actually, we'll see you tomorrow for Locked In, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be there. I'm taking attendance. And until next time, keep up the nonsense. What's that little button?